Hello everyone, and welcome to the Downton Index. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my review of Rwby Episode 7, entitled The Grim Reaper. So this episode starts off with Neo and Cinder discussing their plan in what I think is the room in which the relic of knowledge was kept back in Volume 5. Now, there's nothing really to note about this scene. It's just them talking and discussing. Cinder explains that Salem doesn't actually want Rwby dead. So, the only person that can really kill Rwby is Neo, because of the orders given by Salem to Cinder. So that's the only thing worth mentioning about this scene. Then, we have a quite an awkward transition. That in which A, it's not expected, and B, it just doesn't transition very well. But nevertheless, we have a bit of backstory on the character of Maria. Now, she used to be known as the Grim Reaper. Her character design depicts her as being a lot taller and wears a skull over her face, so a skull mask. She wields two sort of scythes, both shorthand, because she uses one hand for each. And it seems to have the ability to kind of draw to each other, almost like magnets when they draw together, which is quite cool. And we see her fighting the Grim to start with. It's similar to the Grim that we see Team Rwby and Team Rwby take down in Volume 1. The sort of big eagle griffin type of thing. Now, what follows is a little bit disturbing, and that is a battle between a Farnes, who I didn't catch the name of unfortunately, versus Maria, aka the Grim Reaper. Now, this Farnes says that she's hired by somebody. It doesn't tell us who, but we can either guess that it's Salem or that it's Little Miss Malachite. We don't know which one, but it's heavily implied that it's Salem, simply because she's after Maria, simply because she has silver eyes. Now, the fight itself was pretty good. It was choreographed very well and flowed quite nicely. There's a lot of back and forth, and the Farnes used her semblance, which I think can enhance her body for about a minute. Hence why she has a clock hanging from her side. So that was pretty cool. But we see how Maria loses her eyes, and I'm just going to say it's not a good way to go. Like, obviously she doesn't die, but it's just not pleasant to have that happen to you. I won't say what it is, so don't worry. Now, we find out that the reason why none of the current Rwby members or Juniper members know of the Grim Reaper is because after Maria lost her eyes, she went into hiding. She felt like she couldn't help anyone as a huntress anymore. So she went into hiding, and it transitions back to present day, where we see Maria telling that story. Crow sort of fanboys over the fact that he's now talking to the Grim Reaper, or former Grim Reaper, and it's a nice touching scene because Rwby reassures her that although she hasn't or didn't do anything in the past after that incident, she can still do something to help the future in training her. So that was quite good. Now we go into Argus, which is where Team Rwby are heading, and it's a nice scene. We see Jean, Nora and Ren again. Everyone teams up, they rendezvous together, and they go for a tour around the city. And I'll tell you a bit about the animation in a minute, so I'll talk about the city and the details of it in that part. But it's a very nice looking place. There's a lot of military, as well as there's a lot of cultural involved, so it's half and half. The military is there to protect, basically. And with this scene, we also get introduced to one of Jean's sisters. And she basically has a baby and a wife. So they go back to their house, they have a little break, have food, just relax basically. And the episode ends with Team Rwby trying but being denied entrance to the military base because they want to get an airship to transport them to where they actually need to be. So that was just a rough overview of what this episode entailed in terms of plot. Now, the animation of this episode was something I didn't think they could do, and that is to improve the quality quite dramatically, because as I've said in previous reviews, the animation is top notch in this series, and they took it another level in this episode, especially with the fight scene. It was beautifully animated and it went really well, as in there was no anime shortcuts to say. It flowed consistently and everything had a place. But the second highlight was actually seeing the city of Argus itself and the structure, because this scene, which you might be able to see in the thumbnail, is just breathtaking to look at. Really good job. And the attention to detail inside the city, again, is magnificent and a sight to see. It's so finely detailed and precise that you just end up looking at that more than you do what's actually happening or where they're going. So that was really good as well. Again, the fight scene that we saw in this episode, I've already said that it was choreographed very well, it flowed quite nicely, it was consistent with this animation, and the sound effects itself during the battle was good as well. So overall, this episode was really enjoyable. It was a nice, relaxed, chilled episode. There was nothing really urgent or sinister about this episode. It was just a nice, relaxed, enjoyable and fun to watch. It's almost like the calm before the storm though. So now we're at episode 7, and I'm pretty sure they stated this series will have 14 episodes or 13. We're just over halfway, and much like every other Rwby volume that we've had in the past, the second half is always jam-packed with lots of exciting things, and things go wrong. Things go right, and it's just a joy to watch. So hopefully this episode just chills us out, builds up for the next future plot lines. So that's all I'm going to say for this review. Again, it was a great episode. Voice acting again was good, sound effects were good, animation top notch, transitions between scenes were great, and overall I enjoyed it. So I'm going to leave it there for today. If you're new, consider subscribing to the channel, where I do more content like this. But other than that, I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.